Chapter 6, Part 4. We had a cliffhanger last section. Run or fade. Something's wrong. Bod was about to tell her that there was nothing wrong, that she was being foolish, when a large car with a light flashing on top came veering across the road and pulled up in front of him. Two men got out from it. "Excuse me, young man," said one of them. "Police. Might I ask what you're doing out so late?" "I didn't know there was a law against it," said Bod. The largest of the policemen opened the rear door of the car. "Is this the young man you saw, miss?" he said. Mo Quilling got out of the car and looked at Bod and smiled. "That's him," she said. "He was in our back garden breaking things, and then he ran away." She looked Bod in the eye. "I saw you from my bedroom," she said. "I think he's the one who's been breaking windows." "What's your name?" asked the smaller policeman. He had a ginger mustache. "Nobody," said Bod. Then, "Ow!" because the ginger policeman had taken Bod's ear between finger and thumb and had given it a hard squeeze. "Don't gimme that," said the policeman. "Just answer the questions politely, right?" Bod said nothing. "Where exactly do you live?" asked the policeman. Bod said nothing. He tried to fade, but fading, even when boosted by a witch, relies on people's attention sliding away from you, and everybody's attention, not to mention a large pair of official hands, was on him then. Bod said, "You can't arrest me for not telling you my name or address." "No," said the policeman, "I can't, but I can take you down to the station until you give me the name of a parent, guardian, or responsible adult into whose care we can release you." He put Bod into the back of the car where Mo Quilling sat, with the smile on her face of a cat who has eaten all the canaries. "I saw you from my front window," she said quietly, "so I called the police." "I wasn't doing anything," said Bod. "I wasn't even in your garden. And why are they bringing you out to find me?" "Quiet back there," said the large policeman. Everyone was quiet until the car pulled up in front of a house that had to be Mo's. The large policeman opened the door for her and she got out. "We'll call you tomorrow. Let your mom and dad know what we found," said the large policeman. "Thanks, Uncle Tam," said Mo, and she smiled. "Just doing my duty." They drove back through the town in silence, Bod trying to fade as best he could with no success. He felt sick and miserable. In one evening he had had his first real argument with Silas, had attempted to run away from home, had failed to run away, and now failed to return home. He could not tell the police where he lived or his name. He would spend the rest of his life in a police cell or in a prison for kids. Did they have prison for kids? He didn't know. "Excuse me, do they have prison for kids?" he asked the men in the front seat. "Getting worried now, are you?" said Mo's Uncle Tam. "I don't blame you. You kids running wild. Some of you need locking up, I'll tell you." Bod wasn't sure if that was a yes or a no. He glanced out of the car window. Something huge was flying through the air above the car and to one side, something darker and bigger than the biggest bird, something man-sized that flicked and fluttered as it moved like the strobing flight of a bat. The ginger policeman said, "When we get to the station, best if you just tell us your name, tell us who to call to come and get you. We can tell them we gave you a bollocking. They can take you home. See? You cooperate, we have an easy night, less paperwork for everyone. We're your friends." "You're too easy on 'em. A night in the cells isn't that hard," said the large policeman to his friend. Then he looked back at Bod and said, "Unless it's a busy night and we have to put you in with some of the drunks, they can be nasty." Bod thought, he's lying, and they're doing this on purpose, the friendly one and the tough one. Then the police car turned a corner, and there was a thump. Something big rode up onto the hood of the car and was knocked off into the dark. A screech of brakes as the car stopped, and the ginger policeman began to swear under his breath. "He just ran out into the road," he said. "You saw it." "I'm not sure what I saw," said the larger policeman. "You hit something, though." They got out of the car, shone lights around. The ginger policeman said, "He was wearing black. You can't see it." "He's over here," shouted the large policeman. The two men hurried over to the body on the ground, holding flashlights. Bod tried the door handles on the back seat. They did not work. There was a metal grill between the back and the front. Even if he faded, he was still stuck in the back seat of a police car. He leaned over as far as he could, craning to try and see what had happened, what was on the road. The ginger policeman was crouched beside a body, looking at it. The other, the large one, was standing above it, shining a light down into its face. Bod looked at the face of the fallen body. Then he began to bang on the window frantically, desperately. Who do you think it might be? The large policeman came over to the car. "What?" he said irritably. "You hit my dad," said Bod. "You're kidding." "It looks like him," said Bod. "Can I look properly?" The large policeman's shoulders slumped. "Oi, Simon, this kid says it's his dad." "You've got to be bloody kidding me." "I think he's serious." The large policeman opened the door and Bod got out. Silas was sprawled on his back on the ground where the car had knocked him. He was deathly still. Silas. Bod's eyes prickled. He said, "Dad?" Then he said, "You killed him." He wasn't lying, he told himself. Not really. "I've called an ambulance," said Simon, the ginger-mustached policeman. "It was an accident," said the other. Bod crouched by Silas, and he squeezed Silas's cold hand in his. If they had already called an ambulance, there was not much time. He said, "So, that's your career's over then? It was an accident. You saw. He just stepped out." "What I saw," said Bod, "is that you agreed to do a favor for your niece and frighten a kid she's been fighting with at school. So you arrested me without a warrant for being out late. And then when my dad runs out into the road to try and stop you or to find out what was going on, you intentionally ran him over." "It was an accident," repeated Simon. "You've been fighting with Mo at school?" said Mo's Uncle Tam, but he didn't sound convincing. "We're both in 8B at the Old Town School," said Bod, "and you killed my dad." Far off he could hear the sound of sirens. "Simon," said the large man, "we have to talk about this." They walked over to the other side of the car, leaving Bod alone in the shadows with the fallen Silas. Bod could hear the two policemen talking heatedly. "Your bloody niece" was used, and so was, "if you'd kept your eyes on the road." Simon jabbed his finger into Tam's chest. Bod whispered, "They aren't looking. Now." And he faded. There was a swirl of deeper darkness, and the body on the ground was now standing beside him. Silas said, "I'll take you home. Put your arms around my neck." Bod did, holding tightly to his guardian, and they plunged through the night, heading for the graveyard. "I'm sorry," said Bod. "I'm sorry too," said Silas. "Did it hurt?" asked Bod. "Letting the car hit you like that?" "Yes," said Silas. "You should thank your little witch friend. She came and found me, told me you were in trouble and what kind of trouble you were in." They landed in the graveyard. Bod looked at his home as if it was the first time he had ever seen it. He said, "What happened tonight was stupid, wasn't it? I mean, I put things at risk." "More things than you know, young Nobody Owens. Yes." "You were right," said Bod. "I won't go back. Not to school, and not like that." Wow. Yeah, again, Silas hinting that there's something bigger going on that Bod is somehow involved in, and that ties into that convocation and the honor guard in San Francisco. Who knows?